Hello, welcome back, everybody. Another edition here of the Auburn Undercover podcast on the 24/7 Sports Network. My name is Nathan King. I am joined today by Jason Caldwell and Christian Clemente, as we are now, is this 9 days as we're recording this here on Thursday, 9 days out from kickoff to the 2023 season inside Jordan-Hare Stadium. We will get into all that stuff next week. It's about to be that time again, guys. We're going to be breaking down the opponents on here. We'll have our roundtable shows. We'll have the opposing reporter here talking about the team. It's about to be game week here on the Plains against UMass for week 1. But before that, guys, this is something we did last spring. It was me, Jason, and Mark did a roster draft. It was a lot of fun. Everybody picked their team, and then we had our subscribers and readers and listeners, everybody go vote the next day. So we're going to do that again this year. But I think this timing I like a little bit more because camp is over. We now know who maybe the best guys are on the team. Also, the starting quarterback has been decided, so probably the number 1 overall pick, whoever ends up getting that pick. But so we're going to try to make this an annual thing now. So this is the Auburn Undercover roster draft. What we're going to do for the order is a snake draft between me, Christian, and Jason. To select the order, I've got a random number generator pulled up here. Jason will be number 1. I'll be number 2. Christian will be number 3. And I will show that on screen. That way you guys, everybody knows there's some legitimacy there. So before we get into it, not to do too much housekeeping on this idea, because I think the more you explain it, the lamer it gets. But the teams are going to be made up of 6 players on each side of the ball. And basically, we all have to choose these players. So, right now I've got 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 pass catchers. So it could be obviously tight end, receiver, and then 2 offensive linemen. Those are your guys on offense. On defense, 2 defensive linemen, 1 pass rusher. So that has to be somebody from that jack position, 1 box linebacker, and then 2 defensive backs. So trying to pay too much attention on how that 6-on-6 would actually work out in a real football setting. But I think this is the best way we can do to kind of create an actual team on both sides of the ball while not having, how many picks would that be? 22 times 3, not having 66 picks here in a draft. And so, so we'll see how this goes. Of course, again, how it's going to work is you have to pick 1 of each. You have to fill out those positions. So, assuming Thorne and Ashford go 1-2, whoever has the 3rd pick, Holden Gardner's not coming off the board. Like, you have to pick that player. So whoever that is could wait till the very end to take him. And obviously you could do the same with whatever other position. So anyway, now that I've got that all out of the way, guys, we are going to get rolling here. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to attempt now to pull up the random number generator that I have on Google. Let me come back here. There we are. Okay. So Jason, we'll go seniority. Jason has number 1. I have number 2, and Christian has number 3. So I'm going to go generate here. First one is 3. Are you guys seeing that on your end, Jason and Christian?
Yep.
Okay. So Christian gets the first pick. The next number is 1. So Christian gets first pick, Jason gets second pick, and I get the 3rd pick. So you guys, we're going to get rolling now. Christian, you have the number 1 overall pick. I thought about trying to get a soundboard in here to play the little NFL draft jingle. Didn't have enough time to do that, but we can make it up ourselves. Anyway, Christian, I think everyone knows what you're going to go with here. Let's get things rolling with the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a question. I'm going to take Peyton Thorne, number 1 overall, get the quarterback for my team, get Auburn's starting quarterback, at least start the season. Hugh Freeze has talked about it'll still keep going, and if Thorne starts to fall off a little bit or starts to struggle, or if Robbie Ashford really starts to impress, he'll have an opportunity. But for right now, I'm taking Auburn's starting quarterback to be my starting quarterback.
All right. Peyton Thorne off the board. Jason, you got a shocker here, or are you going with what we would expect?
No, it's not a shocker. I'm going Robbie Ashford, number 2. He's going to play a significant role for this team. He's going to be involved in the offense, and I think a guy that could see that role continue to grow. So I'm going to go Robbie Ashford for my first pick here in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, in this kind of setting, I think that's going to take a lot of value in terms of when we're looking at these teams. Quarterback, I don't know if substantial drop-off is the right word, but it looks like Robbie Ashford has a much better chance to lead this offense this season at some point.
At least opportunity-wise anyway.
Correct. So that leaves me with the first snake here. We're all get a couple picks in a row. So I'm going to go away from quarterback and just try to snag some guys who I think are value picks in no particular order. I'm going to take Jarquez Hunter. I'm going to try to get the best running back here to obviously complement what will eventually be Holden Garner in my offense. And then looking at the second round as we get going here, I'm going to take Jalen McLeod. I think in terms of defensive impact, having that guy at the pass rusher spot, I think is going to be my preferred pick here on defense. There's a lot of other guys at the top there on defense. I think this is looking at the draft board here. I think there's 5 or 6 guys that are really, really good on this defense. And then maybe there's kind of a drop off after that. So there's a lot of guys to choose from on defense. But I'm going to go running back and pass rush to kind of set the table here. And so as we will snake back to Jason.
I'm going to go Shane Hooks here with my pick in the second round. Just seen and heard too much about him, and a guy that's just been on campus for a short time and already made such an impact. I think as he continues to get in this offense and do those things, then I think he's a guy that's going to be involved a whole lot. So I'm going to go with Shane Hooks there.
That was who I was really hoping was going to fall to me, but he doesn't. So instead, I'm going to take a different pass catcher to round out the second round. I'm going to take Rivaldo Fairweather, a guy that Jason we just talked to alongside Luke Deal. Check out The Real Deal if you're not watching that video series with Jason. But I think Rivaldo Fairweather, this is a guy that we've talked about and we've heard about so much dating back to the spring about what he could be, and we've seen flashes of it in the little bit of practice viewing windows that we've gotten. But when we got to see that whole hour and a half long plus worth of practice where we got to watch all of it, that was where it was really like, okay, you can see just how impactful he can be, not only making some highlight reel catches, which one happened right in front of Nathan and I, maybe 5 yards in front of us, but just in the offense the whole time. I think he's going to be a huge part of this offense. I actually, at Media Days, put out kind of a projection and picked him as my second team All-SEC tight end. You only picked 2. So I think Rivaldo Fairweather could be really good. So he'll be the main pass catcher in my offense. And then I'll protect my quarterback, and I'll take Dylan Wade at the beginning of the third round.
Those are really good. I think the top 2 pass catchers are now off the board, and I think there might be a decent drop off from there. So this will now snake back to Jason.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jalen Simpson. I think Jalen Simpson is set for a monster year, a guy that's now settled in as a safety. I think he could be a guy that's a turnover machine for this team. We've seen him be there and breaking up some passes, doing those things. I think Jalen Simpson's a guy that has a big year ahead of him. So I'm going to go Jalen Simpson as one of my DBs and do him pretty early.
Well, I really wanted either Fairweather or Hooks, because we were talking about it the other day, Jason, like, at least at the moment, you might say in terms of most targets on this offense, it'd be tough to not say it's either 11 or 13 this season. And so really wanted one of those guys to help out Holden Garner. But so I'll look here at the rest. So I'll get 2 straight here, I believe.
Yes.
And I'm going to try to continue to beef up on defense. I'm going to go with who I think is the best defensive lineman on this team, and that's Marcus Harris. So I think maybe on defense, maybe offsetting a little bit of our passing game deficiencies for my team would be Jalen McLeod and Marcus Harris there along the defensive line. Oh, man, as tempted as I am to just load up and also get Keldrick Falk and get like the 3 best defensive linemen, I'm going to switch the other side of the line of scrimmage. So I'm going to take Marcus Harris, and on the offensive line, I'll take Gunnar Britton. He's my number, as good as Avery Jones is, and he's has a chance to, I think, be really good. I got Britton here as my number 2 offensive lineman on my board behind Dylan Wade, just because of what we've seen the last week or so, and that is that he can play guard and tackle. He's a guy who has a ton of experience, a ton of size, and I think, Christian, you put the intel on our site a couple weeks ago, but Wade is kind of that guy that the NFL scouts really like. He maybe has the highest ceiling among this group, but in terms of consistency, I really like what I've seen out of Gunnar Britton this preseason. So go with a couple big guys. Go with Marcus Harris and Gunnar Britton. So that, I believe, gets us back to Jason.
Sorry. I'm going to go offensive line as well. I'm going to go with Too Tall, Xavier Miller. He's had a great preseason. Another guy that I think, similar to Shane Hooks, he's a little bit different. He was in the spring, but he's kind of changed everything since then over the summer now in the preseason camp. And so I think Too Tall is a guy that is kind of just going to continue to grow and mature and do those things. So I'm going to go with Too Tall as my pick here in round 4 in my first offensive line.
Yeah, I need to start working on the defense a little bit. Haven't taken anybody there. So I'm really glad you didn't pick him, Nathan, because I am going to take Keldrick Falk. I'm going to get him as my cornerstone of the future of the defensive line, defensive end, defensive line, wherever you need him. I really like Keldrick Falk's potential. This is a guy that we've talked about for a long time, and he's clearly proved it in spring practice at Jack linebacker and now in the fall at defensive end. So I'm going to get him, and then I'm really torn on the last spot. I think I'm going to go DJ James. I was going to go linebacker, but I think you've got some options there. And you've got options in the secondary too. I mean, Nehemiah Pritchett and Keontae Scott still have been picked, but I'll take Auburn's probably top overall corner, who could be a pretty high draft choice. Could be a day 2, maybe even plays his way into day 1. Who knows? So I will go with those 2 guys.
All right, so Falk, and now we have DJ James. So that works its way back to Jason for the 14th pick. I'll do mine after this, and then we'll take a snapshot here. We'll have 15 picks by then.
Yeah, you're talking about the linebacker group. I'm going to go with a guy that I've known a long time, and I think has a chance to really be a breakout guy in this defense, and that's Cam Riley. I think Cam Riley's a guy because of this system, because of the things they want to do. I think he could be a guy that could be used in some blitz situations and do some things. So I think we'll see Cam Riley do some things there. So I'm going to go with Cam Riley here as my pick in the 5th round.
Whew. Okay, so a couple coming up for me here. It's starting to get to that point where I think we're past like the main guys. There's still some on the board, but trying to figure out here who would be the best for me. I think I need a pass catcher, and then I don't want to fall too far down the defensive back lineup. So I'm going to go in, I guess, no order here. I'll go Keontae Scott. He was my number 3 DB here on the board behind DJ James and Simp. Look, he's a guy that they think can take another big step. I mean, he's already the number 2 returning tackler on the team. So it's not like he wasn't productive last season, but first year coming from JUCO, getting ready, getting prepared for the speed of the game, I think was a little bit of a factor for him. Leadership role for him is really big. We still haven't heard team captains, guys, but Keontae Scott probably is near that group. Maybe the first kind of cutoff if he's not a team captain this season. And then from the number 3 DB on the board to my number 3 receiver, this was kind of a tough choice, guys, to like pass Shane Hooks and Rivaldo, who's that number 3 pass catcher. I'm gonna go Camden Brown. I think he's the most dynamic player in that receiving core besides Shane Hooks. He's not healthy right now fully. He is getting back into the swing of things. We'll see what his production looks like at the beginning of the season, but I just think he's a guy that, down the line, your 3 best pass catchers on the team, I would not be surprised if it's Hooks, Camden Brown, and Rivaldo Fairweather. So let me add these in here, guys, and then I will look as we're about halfway through. Let me try to get this pulled up for our YouTube folks. Let's see, share screen here. And all right, so there's what we've got so far. So number 1 overall, Christian went Peyton Thorne. Jason went Robbie Ashford. Back-to-back for me was Jarquez, Jalen McLeod. Jason with Shane Hooks. Christian with Fairweather, Dylan Wade. A couple really good offensive picks there. Jalen Simpson for Jason. And then I went Marcus Harris, Gunnar Britton. Jason went Too Tall Miller. Christian got a couple defensive guys. Keldrick Falk, DJ James. Jason went with his guy, Cam Riley. And then Keontae Scott. Oh, I just put Cam Riley. That's not who I meant to put there. I meant to put Camden Brown. Same 3 letters of the name, but you can pretend that says Camden Brown right there. And so I guess we will go back now to Jason for the number 17 pick with a bunch of interesting guys still on the board here.
Yep. I'm going to go running back. I'm going to go with Damari Austin. I think Damari's a guy that has been as good as anybody, really, over the summer in the preseason. And I think it's going to play a big role for this team. So I'm going to go with Damari Austin to be my running back of the group.
Ooh, okay. That puts a dent in things. That was the plan right there. I'm going to get my second defensive lineman, I think. I'm going to go with I'm torn
It's
between
tough, isn't it? Ask Keldrick and Marcus.
I'm torn between the two nose tackles. I'll go with Jason Jones because we've heard so much good stuff about him. I'll ride the hot hand there. Everyone has talked so much about him, and I'm still kind of, I wrote this in when we did our exit survey. I'm still a little believe it when I see it mode and want to see it in a game, but everything we've heard about him has been so impressive. So I will get him as my second defensive lineman, and then I'm going to stick there. Yeah, I'm going to stick there, and I'm going to go Steven Sings as my pass rusher. So I'll get him.
All right, Jason, don't screw me up too badly here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I was thinking about kind of those two spots when you think about kind of how the line of scrimmage looks and where we're going at certain spots. So I'm going to go back to offensive line, and I'm going to go with Avery Jones. I'm going to go ahead and get my second offensive lineman in the group and go ahead and get Avery Jones there and finish up my offensive line group there and add Auburn starting center. So that's my call is Avery Jones.
Oh, Jason, I asked you not to do that. And then you took my guy. Goodness. So a couple picks here for me now. Christian, I'm with you. It's like on the D line, I'm not entirely sure who I would choose in that next group. I'll probably veer away from them for right now. I need a second offensive lineman, but past like Wade, Britton, Jones, and Too Tall, I was also like, I don't know who that. I mean, Cam Stutz is a starter, but maybe Jaden Muskrat is a little bit more versatile. I'm gonna go with Nehemiah Pritchett in my secondary. So I'll have Keontae Scott and Nehemiah in the secondary for me. And then I'm going to add another pass catcher as well, I think, and keep working on getting Holden Guerin or his guys. This was tough. I think I have to go Javarius Johnson, but Jay Fair has been really, 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 really good. I think at this point, though, I have to lean experience when it comes to the slot. That's another reason why like Hooks and Cam Brown and Fairweather, like I wouldn't be surprised if they take the bulk of the receptions this year in terms of like actual numbers, because I think it could be pretty split at the moment. I don't know what you guys think about that slot position, but it's just really interesting to me. It's interesting too because we saw that last preseason. Remember how much we heard about Chick Dawson, and he was the starter week 1 on the depth chart at slot, but that didn't end up mattering. Like it was VAR Johnson. Whenever VAR Johnson was healthy, it was him the entire time. So I'm going to go with a DB. I'll go with Auburn's number 2 corner, Nehemiah Pritchett, and round out my group of pass catchers with Javarius Johnson. And that kicks it back over to Jason after he stole my number 1 player on the board. Thanks so much, Jason.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one for me because I was thinking really about Nehemiah going there and finishing off the secondary. And so you start looking at that next group when you start talking about DBs. You got to get to that 6th guy. Who's it going to be? And you still got Zion Puckett there. Will it be one of the young guys that steps in that role? I'm going to go with Zion Puckett. I think Zion Puckett's a guy that has been steady. I think he's had probably his best preseason now and doing those things in the secondary. So I'm going to go with Zion Puckett to finish off my secondary group. So get both of Auburn starting safeties in my group. So I'm a safety kind of guy.
All right, I'm going to take my linebacker. I think I'm going to go with Austin Keys. Got dinged up a little bit in fall camp with a little bit of a shoulder stinger, I think, but I still think he's a really, really solid Mike linebacker for this Auburn defense, and I think he'll play a lot. You've got a lot of options there. Jason already took Cam Riley, but you could go Larry Nixon. You could make a case for Eugene Asante. There's plenty of options there. So let's work, but I'm going to be working with Austin Keys. So that's who I'm taking to round out, I believe, the 8th round. To start the 9th round.
Oh, you're better than me, Christian. I've stopped paying attention to what round it is, so I appreciate it.
Start the 9th round. I'm going to get my second offensive lineman. I'll grab the Tulsa boys. I'll take Jade Muskie. Got some versatility there between him and Dylan Wade. So give me Tulsa's tackles for my team for the Auburn Christian Clemente draft. There you go.
All right. I'm going to go defensive line, and I'm going to go Justin Rogers. I think it's a guy that we've heard so much about, and I think for him trying to get used to a system, trying to do those things, get through the summer, I think Justin Rogers is a guy that's going to play a big part of this team. And so I'm going to go with Justin Rogers there as my pick in, I think it is correct, the ninth round.
Jason, how do you like being the center, by the way, with the one pick every time?
It's harder, I think, being the one pick than having the double picks gives you a chance to kind of do a little bit more. But it's okay. It's not bad. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think I had the third pick last time, or was number 3 in the rotation last time as well. I have to get a second. It has been forever. I wanted Avery Jones. I'm going to keep complaining about that for the rest of the show. But I took Gunnar Britton way back when. And I need another offensive lineman. I'm gonna go with Jeremiah Wright, just because I think maybe sort of blending the like tactician experience, big tackle guy in Gunnar Britton with a little bit more. I say raw. Jeremiah Wright's been at Auburn forever, and he's been on the O-line for a while now. But like skill set wise, Jake Thornton has talked about, like he's still got a ways to go. In terms of kind of I know he's not a starter, and I know Cam Stutz is the other starter at guard. And so maybe that's a little disrespectful to Cam Stutz. But I think potential-wise, and if I have Jarquez Hunter in my backfield, maybe get that Mauler type guy to go with a guy who's a really good pass protector in Gunnar Britton. So that'll round out my offensive line there. Man, I'm done at DB. I'm done at receiver. Do I want to go linebacker? The D-line remains difficult. I think with Rod, and like as much as Jason Jones was better than Rodgers this preseason, I still think I agree with you, Jason. Like Justin Rogers was that next guy on the D-line that I would want to take. I'm gonna go with Nasili Kite there. I think he has a chance to be the starting defensive end, or it won't matter between him and Falk. I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I don't really think it'll matter who starts there. I think because of his experience, he'll get to play a bunch. Another guy that maybe if we did this in the spring, that would be a little bit more hyped of a pick. Because I don't know if you guys remember how much people were talking about, hey, he's so fast for his size. Guys on the D-line were saying, Marcus Harris was like, I love playing next to him. He compliments everybody really, really well. Maybe that's the sort of under the radar guy that is really experienced, always had good production in the Big Ten. I think he started for 2 seasons at Maryland. And so I'll finish up my lines of scrimmage there with maybe guys that were a little bit lower on my board at O-line and D-line, but guys who could end the season, I think, as pretty good players nonetheless. And so I guess that snakes us back here to Jason as we are almost finished, I believe.
Yeah, I think this will be we're in 11 now.
10, I think.
Okay, well, we got I'm trying to think how many picks we got left. So I'm going to go. I think Jay Fair's still on the board, right?
Correct.
I'm going to go Jay Fair here as my second pass catcher to team up with Shane Hooks. I think the two guys that probably have been the most talked about, other than Rivaldo Fairweather, in terms of Auburn pass catchers in the preseason. So I'm going to team up Shane Hooks with Jay Fair and give myself another receiver on the outside.
That's a good tandem right there.
Okay.
These are our last picks, right, Christian? This is your last.
I think I have 3.
Christian's got 3. Yeah, because we'll have 11 and 12, right? We got 12 total guys, 6 on each side.
Yep. Okay. Well, I know I'm getting my running back at the end because you already have yours. So I'm going to go with my receiver. I'm going to go with Caleb Burton. It was between him or Jai Shorter to pair with Rivaldo Fairweather, but I like the versatility that Caleb Burton brings. Heard a lot about him at the beginning of fall camp. That buzz kind of tailed off a little bit, more so for Jay Fair, but I still think he will contribute to this team. And he was always the transfer. A lot of the transfers were 1-year rentals. He was the long-term play that Auburn liked his potential for the long haul for those 4 years of eligibility. So I'll take Caleb Burton, and then I need to get my second player in the secondary, and I'm going to go with Kayan Lee. Pair the young guy up with DJ James. So I'll go with those 2 guys.
Yeah, I like that. Jason, this is 11. Second to last for you.
Yep. I've got to have a defensive lineman and like my pass rusher. And so I'll go defensive line first. I'm going to go to Lawrence Johnson, Purdue transfer. just kind of watching him in some of the drills we saw when we had that extended viewing period last time, I like some of the things I saw from him in terms of pass rush ability, and wonder if he's a guy that could be maybe a third down option in the middle to give him a little bit more of a pass rush in some passing situations. So go with Lawrence Johnson as my other interior defensive lineman.
All right. Well, these are my last two, and then I think Christian finishes us, or Christian and Jason and Christian will finish us off after that. Yeah, because that'll be 36 total when we get to Christian. Yeah, I'd held off on Holden Geriner because I knew that he wasn't going to come off the board, so I'll obviously have to get him here. And then linebacker was also one that I truthfully held off. I knew I was going to do my last two, quarterback and linebacker, because between Keys, Nixon, and Asante, I don't see a bunch of separation. Those three guys on the board with Cam Riley not being there. I don't see a bunch of separation between those three guys. And I'm really, really torn between Nixon. Keys was my number one linebacker. But I'm really, really torn between Nixon and Asante. I think I have to go with my guy. I think I have to go with Eugene Asante. As productive as Larry Nixon was last year, and I think he can be a really good player in this system, I think Eugene Asante is their starting weak side linebacker right now. And so, everything we've heard about his improvement, something Cam Riley brought up was that, I'd forgotten about his injury last year. That obviously was a factor in keeping him on special teams. And so really his first full offseason with the program, because of having to spend some time away after the passing of his father last offseason, he's shined. I mean, he's shown out both as a player and as a leader. And so that's going to finish me off. They'll be my quarterback and my linebacker. And so two more picks to Jason, and then Christian gets Mr. Irrelevant.
Yep. My pass rusher, and it's kind of the same thing. There's kind of three options at quarterback, three options at pass rusher. And so once those first guys came off the board, I knew I could wait till my last pick to take Elijah McAllister. And he's a guy that's actually come on and I think done some good things. In scrimmage number one, he was probably the standout defensive lineman of the group and did some things. And so Elijah McAllister is going to be heavy involved in the run game. And if he continued to show a little bit of the pass rush, he's a guy that could put up some good numbers. So Elijah McAllister finishes it off for me.
Yep. Then I need to get my running back. And I've been higher on Brian Battie than I think most people have been. And this year in 2023, he will contribute more than Jeremiah Cobb will. But in this draft, I'm going to take Jeremiah Cobb because if I'm just styling it as a team, I think Jeremiah Cobb brings more to an offense. He's a more balanced back that you can do just a little bit more with. So for clarity, before people freak out, I think Brian Battie will contribute more to Auburn's offense in 2023, but I'm taking Jeremiah Cobb for the potential and for kind of the balance that he brings to what would be quote unquote my offense.
I need to insert the Stephen A. Smith. Whoa, because I'll be sure to do that in post. I had written out Brian Battie, and then Christian goes with the upset there at the last second. And so there it is, guys. I'm going to start there with, I believe that's where we finished off last time. So our second group of picks here that we will show on screen. I had Camden Brown, number 16, Jason Damari Alston, Christian grabbed Jason Jones and Steven Sings. Jason then broke my heart, took Avery Jones. I grabbed Pritchett and Var Johnson back to back. Jason went with the other secondary. So you had Simpson and Puckett, right, Jason?
I got both safeties. That's right.
That's pretty solid. Christian got Austin Keys and Muskie. Jason went Justin Rogers. I got Jeremiah Wright and Nasili Kite. Jason with Jay Fair. Christian got Caleb Burton and Kyan Lee. A couple former Ohio State guys for Christian. There you go. It's probably two of the most talented players on the roster right there. Jason grabbed Lawrence Johnson, who rounded out my defensive line board as well, so no surprise there. Holden Geriner had to come off the board for me. Asante over Larry Nixon for me. So Larry Nixon did not get drafted from us as I see it here.
I'm sure that'll be a comment on the board. No Larry Nixon, guys. We can only take so many people.
Well, yeah,
we also didn't
linebackers limited things.
We also didn't take Jared Shorter, Christian. So we'll probably.
Oh yeah.
We'll probably hear about that from shout out to that one guy on the board that always asks about Jared Shorter. When he goes for 1,000 yards, you'll be the day one. And then Jason with Elijah McAllister, who I agree, Jason, maybe a little slept on, had a pretty good camp. And then Christian with Mr. Irrelevant, Mr. Jeremiah Cobb. And so, guys, I'll be interested to see, like, once we compile everything, it's tough to, like, look at the composite list here and see whose group was was better. I think people are going to instantly gravitate toward y'all too. It's the same thing that happened to me last year. I think Holden was my quarterback last year. No. Finley was my quarterback last year.
Yeah.
Because it was Robbie. I'm sorry. I'm going to go in circles. But we did in the spring. But I was like, you know what? I think Robbie. So maybe if you had looked ahead to the season, I might have had a good group. But I don't know. I don't know what you guys' feelings are. I think I'm pretty good on the defense.
Yeah, it's hard to get to a third quarterback, and people go, "Oh, that's the team." But hey, we've seen it the last couple of years. They've got to number 3 a couple of times, and so you never know.
Yeah, and I think Holden Garner still has lots of passing abilities as a player. We've heard about that ever since he started playing for Auburn, ever since he started practicing here. I mean, both the previous staff and this staff talked about how good of a player he is in terms of his arm talent. But yeah, I mean, Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford are going to play much more this season. And so that is it, guys, for our 2024 Auburn roster draft. And I think, you guys, this will be like the last off-season content type thing that we do on this podcast, because starting on whenever we decide to do our show next week, we can probably do it after Hugh Freeze on Monday. By the way, that's going to be when his weekly press conference will be Monday at 11. After that's full steam ahead. It's going to be 13 straight weeks of talking about football, talking about games that are upcoming. And of course, that starts this weekend with week 0, a handful of somewhat interesting games. And I can get down with Hawaii Vanderbilt.
Well, and get a taste of UMass
and New Mexico State.
Yeah, get to watch UMass, New Mexico State right out of the gate. So get a chance to practice, saying UMass's quarterback's name that I still can't do. It will take me for months to figure it out. It'll be long after the game, but it's Clemson transfer. Yes, Christian, you got it?
No, absolutely not.
Hey, Andy's got it. Andy commented the other day on Twitter. He's already got the phonetics down.
All right. Well,
that's a pro right there.
But yeah, so looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. And like I said, heading into this first weekend of football, and then it's full steam ahead.
For sure. Well, this was a lot of fun, guys. I appreciate you guys playing along here and being down for this format. So like I said, if you're listening to this on Friday morning, first thing Friday morning, which is when I'll post it, be sure to head over to auburnundercover.com to vote. That's where
vote for my team.
That's where you'll see the full draft order. I'm just saying, Marcus Harris and Jalen McLeod on the D-line together, kind of tough to beat. SEC defensive lines, that's kind of what you're looking for. But anyway, head over to auburnundercover.com. I'll have the full draft order in a story, and then I'll have everybody's teams in a story. And at the bottom, you guys can vote on who you think had the best draft. So thank you guys so much for listening today to the Auburn Undercover podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, go leave us a 5-star review. That's the number one thing that helps us out. The bumper music is by Beats by Mordecai. You guys can follow him on Twitter, SoundCloud, and Instagram. And until the next time, for Jason and Christian, we will catch you guys later. Everybody have a great